It's been a few months now that we've moved into our new apartment here, and while my craft room is beautifully set up and I love spending time in here, there are other parts of the apartment that could use some help. I recently organized my closet and I discovered a treasure trove of tops that I had completely forgotten that I got. With all the moving in the past few years and packing and unpacking, I managed to hide these from myself, but I did remember that I got these 3 tops accidentally in duplicate. So while I love all the tops, I don't really need the same one twice. I thought that this would be a good idea to kind of share my ideas on transforming my duplicate tops all the way from maybe a pretty simple way of transforming a top to something a little bit more involved. And that way it's not just for someone like me who not only misplaces items in their closet, but also manage to get duplicates of the tops that they already have, but maybe for someone else who has an older piece in their closet that needs a little bit of a refresh or a redo to match their current style, or maybe is a thrift flip that they're thinking about doing. So I just wanted to share what I did with my tops with you all to maybe give some inspiration.
Before I talk you through the transformations, I thought that I would first show you what the tops are that I have in duplicate. The first one is this lovely peachy pink top with the strawberry embroidery on the collar, and all I will be doing with this one is dyeing it a new color. This second top is going to get a very similar treatment in that I will be dyeing it a different color, but before I do so, I'm going to remove all of the lace trim and then reattach it afterwards. The most involved change will happen to this top, where I will dye it a different color, shorten the sleeves, and add some embroidery embellishments to it. I'm very excited, so let's get started with the simplest one first. I've decided that I want this top to turn into more of an orange color. I'm kind of hoping for a fall deep harvest pumpkin orange, but before I do so, I want to kind of protect the color of the embroidery. So I got these wax resist sticks, which I've seen other people use to kind of create wax resist dyeing, but I'm going to be using them instead to try and protect the embroidery so that I don't dye the embroidery orange as well. The dye that I got should only work on natural fibers, and the top is cotton, but I'm not 100% sure what kind of thread they used for the embroidery. If it's cotton as well, it will also dye. If it's not cotton, it won't, but I don't want to try my luck, so I'm going to try to add an extra layer of protection by covering it all in wax to hopefully resist any of the dye. I used RIT dyes for all of these transformations, and I used color formulas on the RIT website themselves to get the exact color that I was hoping for, rather than going for just the simple colors that they had in the bottles. I got a little bit of mixed results from this, to be honest. I mean, I know I wasn't starting from a clear white base on this one, but the color isn't exactly how I would have hoped that it would turn out. I will say that the color does look different from how it looked when I pulled it out of this particular batch and after it dried and settled in a little bit more, so I do like it a little bit better now as time has passed, but it is a little bit more neon orange than I was hoping for, though you will see the final results at the very end, so stick around for that. This second transformation begins with me removing all of the lace trim from the neckline, the sleeves, and the bottom of this top. Just from feeling this trim, I could tell that it was probably some sort of natural fiber like cotton, and I didn't want to also dye it a different color. I wanted to keep a lovely contrast in my top, so that's why I removed it before sticking it in the dye pot. I might have overdone it a little bit with the dish soap in this particular dye bath, but it was very bubbly, so at least my tops were also very clean. For this top, I was looking for kind of the color of a crisp blue sky, and I also used a dye formula from the RIT website for this one, and you'll see again that the color that this turns out is a little bit different than I was hoping for. I do like how it comes out straight from the dye bath, but then once it dries, it's a little bit too bright, and not bright blue sky, but more blue tropical water, which is beautiful, but not really what I was hoping to go for. So I decided instead that I was going to over dye my first dye job with just a plain dark blue RIT dye. Once I was satisfied with my new blue color, I then sewed the lace trim back on to the neckline, sleeves, and the bottom of this top. And once again, you will see the final reveal at the end of this video, so stick around till then. I decided for my last top, the long sleeve blouse, that I wanted to go for a deep forest green. This is another one of those fun color mixes. I thought I would go a little bit more complex than just plain colors that you can get straight from one bottle, and honestly, maybe I'm just not good at using these dyes, but I would recommend to anyone else to just save your money on, instead of getting extra bottles of dye, and pick one of the colors that you like most and try to dye it that color. But maybe some other people have some better recommendations than I did, because I really didn't like the shade of green that I got from this dye bath. Luckily, I didn't like it because it was too light of a shade of green and a little bit too yellow, and so I was easily able to fix the issue by just over dyeing it with a plain dark green dye. Now that I was happy with the color of my top, it was time to decide how short to make my sleeves. I was thinking about doing shirred sleeves, so I gave myself a little bit extra length to add a little bit of like a ruffling effect at the bottom. And then it was time to cut into the fabric. This is a little nerve-wracking because you can't really redo it. I went a little bit longer rather than shorter because I always thought that I could make the hem a little bit thicker should I want a shorter sleeve. I really liked the effect of the shirring on the sleeve. I think it's super cute. However, I just don't think that there's quite enough fabric. I mean, I really had to scrunch everything around to the front to get that little bit of ruffling effect. So I think I needed more volume in the sleeve to get what I was hoping for in my vision. And also I realized that it would just bother me a lot. I don't like how that feels, and if I don't like how a top feels, I'm not gonna wear it. So I decided to undo the shirring again and just leave the sleeves as they were. Which led me to the last bit of embellishment I was going to do on this blouse, and I decided to add some beautiful embroidery flower bouquets. I was deciding between these two options, and I ended up going to the one on the left. And because I don't have a light box to transfer the pattern onto my shirt, I taped everything up onto my window and transferred the pattern to my fabric that way. I really haven't done a lot of embroidery in the past, but I really liked this particular pattern because it really broke down all of the different stitch types that I would need. And while I don't think I was very perfect in doing all of the stitches, I think it's also a very forgiving pattern, and I really enjoyed working on this embroidery piece. Now that the last bit of work is done on my last top, why don't we see how all of the different transformations turned out? choose between the three tops on which transformation was my favorite, but I do think that I like this one the best. It's nice to have a short sleeve option, but I think the embroidery really takes it to the next level. And I have to say, I couldn't resist. I also stuck this particular top in the same dye bath as my green sweater, and I absolutely love how it turned out. I got this wonderful bonus where the white on white embroidery thread turned out to be a contrasting color after I dyed it, so the dye didn't pick up on the thread, and I think that that looks so gorgeous. Anyway, thank you again so much for watching. I hope that you'll join me again next time, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!